personally wish only the first two movies existed in this franchise. I'm sorry. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I'm Nikki, and this is a night of horror where I talk horror movies and sometimes other genres and TV shows. We are here to discuss Final Destination as a franchise. Of course, we know we have the new Final Destination, The Bloodlines, the 6th movie in the franchise dropping in May. I absolutely hate the bloodlines and horror thing, wrong turn bloodlines, Pet Cemetery bloodlines. I'm so sick of bloodlines. But we have the new movie coming out, which it's not something I'm anticipating. It's not something I'm super excited about, but I mean, it's horror. It's Final Destination. I'm gonna show the hell up. So recently I decided to binge the entire franchise because, for one, I really only watched the first 2 movies. Like, those are the movies that I have rewatched the most, and rewatched the first one ad nauseum, to the point that the first one is the only one I did not watch on this binge. Absolutely adore that movie. It's just, like I said, I've seen it ad nauseum. Like, I can recite that entire movie. I just wasn't in the mood to watch it for the 15 million billion time. But I sat down and watched the entire franchise. And I feel like it's about time. Like, are we ready to admit that this is a trash ass franchise? Like, are we ready to admit that? I pretty much cape for this franchise, always have, even though I'm like, why was I doing that? Because a lot of these movies were one and done for me. Like, I pretty much saw all of them in theaters except for the 3D one. I've always hated 3D. I can't stand 3D. So that's the only one I didn't. Wait a minute. You know what? Now that I just said that, I think I did see it in theaters. I just didn't see it in 3D. I might be mixing it up with another movie, but I feel like it was this one where you could choose to not see it in 3D. And I think that might be what I did. But anyway, I pretty much always go up for this franchise, even though I pretty much just rewatched the first 2. I don't know, I've just never had an inclination to ever rewatch the other movies, but I didn't remember them in less than fond ways. I knew I didn't love them like the first 2, but Lord Jesus, on this rewatch, I absolutely know why I never revisited like 3 through 5. I feel like this is just we're gonna get into it, okay? First of all, we are going to discuss and rate every movie in the franchise, starting from the original through to the final sequel that we have. And I will also be discussing the deaths in each movie, and at the very end I will give you my top 5 deaths in this entire franchise. Now, it doesn't make any sense for me to rank the movie, so I'm just going to rank like my top 5 deaths, because as I talk about each movie, I feel like it will be painfully obvious how I would rank these movies. So let's go ahead and get into things. But before we do, make sure you do all the things: like the video, comment down below, let me know your thoughts on each of these movies and the franchise as a whole. Do you agree or disagree with my opinion? And make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you have your bell notifications on. Check out channel memberships if you want more content from me running my mouth talking about horror movies and movies in general. That annoys me this so bad, because my ceiling fan is like making that light on the glass, and it's annoying my eye. But anyway, so starting off with the first movie in the franchise, the original, in the words of Sidney Prescott, never F with the OG, okay? Never F with the original. Final Destination. After getting a premonition about a plane crash on his school trip, a student saves a few of his classmates. However, their situation gets complicated when death starts chasing them. I absolutely adore this movie. I think it is amazing from top to bottom. I love the entire concept, the whole thing of death's design, cheating fate, and I also feel like there was this haunting, suspenseful, dark tone to this one, where it feels very horror, it feels very suspense, it feels very thriller, it feels very, you know, slasher vibes, where you have this group of teens being stalked by a killer, but the killer is death. So I absolutely love that so much. The franchise becomes all about, for me, just the deaths, the accidents, but this first one has a genuinely good story, characters, build for everything. I also feel like, speaking of the characters, Alex is the most interesting central visionist central protagonist in the entire franchise. It just all went down scale after him, and I felt like there was just a care, there was a likability to this character, in part the writing of the character, but also in part because of the performance of Devin Siwa. Is it Siwa or Sawa? I don't know, child. Love how we are following along as the audience, learning the rules with the cast, with the characters, and you know, whether there is a hope for them or not. Can they cheat death? Will they make it in the end? And there is a freshness here, and I always personally just really cape very hard for early 2000s horror, and there's just a feel that was bottled for me in that decade that hasn't been replicated, and it is just oozing early 2000s horror all through Final Destination. I also love this one because there's a grounded feel to this movie that I feel like gets lost as the franchise continues, where the deaths just get more over the top, ridiculous, convoluted, yeah. I like when the deaths feel like it could really happen to you. Like, damn, if I'm on a highway, or oh shoot, if I'm home by myself, and I like the deaths that feel like, oh my god, like that could actually happen to me. I could have to get something out the garbage disposal, I have to put my hand in, like it feels like, oh shoot, like this could happen to me. That is what sets this franchise, when it does what it does well, apart from any other horror where people are dying. It's like, oh shoot, like yeah, this could happen, it's almost like an urban legend type of feel to these movies. As we all know, with the log trucks on the highway, no one wants to ride behind them. You feel like it's this urban legend, like oh shoot, like I can't let the man with the hook get me. Everything isn't perfect. I do feel like dialogue wise the movie is pretty weak, and you could say a few things are a bit contrived, you know, but the concept, the cast, the chemistry of the cast, the atmosphere, the kills, the tone they go for, everything works for me here. Now let's get into the kills of Final Destination, because of course that's what this franchise became all about. First of all, we have the central accident and the central kills, which is the plane crash. I absolutely love the idea of this plane crash and the students going on this trip and how everything is orchestrated. There is a steady build up that works here, where we are introduced to the characters. We're just going about just a normal routine that you would do when you're going to get on a plane. I feel like there's not that, you know, cold open of say like a Scream or Evil Dead 2013, but that works here because it's, for me with Final Destination, it's about the dread, and it makes the plane crash that much more intense, and visually it's great. And who isn't scared of flying? Now getting to the individual deaths as death stalks everyone. Alex BFF strangled in the bathtub with that wire. Horrifying. Great scene. Again, amazing slow build up. Those are like my favorite deaths in this franchise, where we are literally like watching death's design start to just orchestrate and get set into motion. And as we are seeing Alex BFF move through the bathroom and the liquid leaks and we're wondering like what's going to kill him, it's building this tension and this anticipation until he's finally strangled to death. Old girl getting hit by the bus. Low tier death for me. I have actually always hated this death scene from the first time I ever saw this movie. It was obviously just so obnoxiously telegraphed that she was going to get hit. Anytime folks is walking up in the street, walking backwards in the street, baby, they about to get hit by a truck or something. Okay, like they're finna get hit by a car. And also, if my memory serves, I feel like this came out around the time that I was obsessed with that TV show Felicity, and like I think it was her boyfriend that was walking backwards into the street and he got hit by a bus. One of the greatest jump scares ever. Like, it was amazing. Like, her reaction, I still remember that vividly, and I only saw that once way back in the day. But I feel like this came out a little bit after that, and it just felt like the least original death really in this entire franchise. As awful as the deaths get, I think this one lacks the most originality. Like, she just walks backward into the street and get hit by a bus. Like, okay. The teacher killed in her kitchen. Best kill of the movie, hands down. Possibly best of the franchise, if I really think about it. Again, what works is that build up. Watching the teacher go through her home and the liquid is dripping from her cup onto the computer, and we're anticipating what will kill her in this freaking fun house for Death to play around in. And she also has like a long, maybe one of the longest, like, brutal death scenes. Like, that damn lady suffered, even though she was pissing me off when she was calling Alex a freak and being all crazy. Like, bitch, I saved your life. Did you want to die up there, lady? Her attitude really took me out. But as someone who lives alone and is always super uber paranoid and freaked out about what would happen if, like, something happened while I'm home by myself and the dog just gonna watch me choke to death, this freaks me out. Like, I'm always very wary of, like, where my drink at with the computer, and let me make sure that let me not set nothing off in here. Sean William Scott death, I think it was at the train track. He gets decapitated. I love this scene. And I feel like decapitation by I think it was like some debris that flew by. It's good, but really for me, it's just the accumulation of every little piece of the scene. I absolutely love, like, the other characters, what they have going on. Sean William Scott's reaction and him, like, yelling, you're dead, man, whatever he was yelling. And then he gets, like, the second character say stuff like that, baby, we know you finna die. I love that scene. Then at the very end, the jock getting killed by the sign in Paris. I like this death again because of the scene, because of the feeling of sigh of relief. Our characters figured out how to defeat death. Our characters got on the plane. They finally went to Paris. Everything is all good. And then we see death comes back around for them. But in general, just the sign, that's not much. But what makes it high for me is, like I said, the accumulation of exactly the scene itself, not just the kill. If it's just the kill, low tier. But in accumulation with the scene, Final Destination for me is a solid 5 out of 5 star movie. I had to turn my fan off because that little glare over here was getting on my nerve, and now I'm burning to death. But even though my thermostat says it's like 63 degrees in here, for some reason without the fan I die. But let me go ahead and get through everything else. I can turn my fan back on. Final Destination 2. After getting a premonition of a deadly highway pileup, JJ from Criminal Minds, along with a group of survivors, are once again stalked by death. I absolutely love AJ Cook, even though she played in a god-awful Wishmaster sequel. But I love JJ. I love Criminal Minds. Kimberly is one of the most lackluster final girls in existence. That might be dramatic. Like, look, as a part of the whole, she's fine. I just don't really care anything about her. She doesn't have much personality. There's really nothing special about her. She just feels very mediocre for me. I also felt like she was constantly, like, overacting, especially with all the crying. Like, baby, calm down. It was very irksome for me. This is a solid sequel, though, where they pretty much continue the formula from the original, but they do try to elevate everything. I like that we had strangers this time, a group of strangers, as opposed to like our group in the first one, which wasn't a friend group, but we were classmates and known to each other. Now, the characters are nothing to really write home about in this sequel, but I like all of them. The idiot stoner, the mom and her son were pretty forgettable, personality-wise, but everyone works here together. The businesswoman that was always smoking a damn cigarette, the lottery kid, no one was like bad, obnoxious, insufferable, which comes later in the franchise. Just, I mean, not anything to write home about, but a mix of just the performances, the actors. I liked everybody here, but I absolutely love T.C. Carson, and maybe that's my bias because Living Single is one of the like single greatest sitcoms in the history of mankind. But he is my favorite character as opposed to the jock in the original. They are both supposed to be that I'm in control, I control my life archetype. But TC Carson character doesn't feel like this stereotypical meathead asshole jock unlikable character like in the first one. This portrayal of the I'm in control type, it feels way more realistic and relatable when he ends up running inside the cop's apartment after witnessing the mom get her head chopped, with the elevator, and he goes to grab the gun and he's crying, I control my death, I control my death, and the gun just click, click, clicking. That scene felt way more like, made him more sympathetic, more relatable than the idiot jock forcing everybody to like sit on a train track and racing through the streets with his hands off the steering wheel. I feel like this was pretty much that same character, but done much better and made to look way more like human and like a real person here. This one continues that grounded sense of realism pretty much throughout, except for like Buddy getting chopped in half by the fence. That ain't make no sense to me. I like introducing the whole like only new life can defeat death as they're trying to figure out how they can survive, because we already went through this as the audience in the first one where it's like, okay, like how can we cheat death? So I feel like coming into this one, you pretty much feel like you can't cheat death. But I like how they kind of can do the whole, well, only new life defeats death. So it gives the audience kind of, wait a minute, well, can they defeat it? The biggest weakness here is bringing back Clear and killing Alex in between movies. The way that folks were outraged about Alien 3 killing Newt and Hicks, which I really never cared about, in between movies. I love Alien 3, always have. Okay, no Alien 3 slander shall prosper. I really could give an inch that they killed Newt and Hicks in between the movies. I'm sorry, I just never cared. But the way folks were outraged about that is how I felt my first time watching Final Destination 2, and Clear pulls out the photo talking about Alex was killed. I was like, bitch, say what? Like, I hate that so much. Like, I absolutely hate that. I just wish we didn't bring Clear here. And in my mind, I could think that somehow Alex and Clear just sailed off into the sunset and just living in an empty house somewhere trying to like not let death get them. I don't know. I enjoyed Ali Lauder as Clear in this sequel. I enjoyed her performance, solid performance, but Clear is useless here. Like, y'all could left her in the damn padded ass room. Like, I like the tie-in of the characters in the sequel with the characters in the original and how they should have died if not for the events of Flight 180. That tie-in works really well. Like, that's all we needed. We did not need a physical character here, but I don't want to beat a dead horse. The way Kimberly, I forgot to mention when I was talking about Kimberly, the way she reads her premonitions always irked me. Because, baby, why would a nurse be strangling somebody out? Like, why? Like, I just felt like it was kind of like, it felt like that's so Raven trying to read her premonitions. Like, baby, can you think a bit when you get these like, just use a little bit of sense. Why would the nurse be choking strangling somebody? But overall, this movie is fun, very well put together, the proper way to follow up an iconic movie. This is everything a sequel should be. Now, let's get into the kills of Final Destination 2. First of all, the central accident and kills, the highway pileup, is fucking iconic. Iconic as hell. And for me, it surpasses the plane crash. The build up for the highway pileup, the way it's like choreographed nicely, actually showing us the crash, how each person dies in the crash. It's almost music. And how they sync everything, and it just flows exceptionally well. I also found the highway pileup way more like brutal and sad than the plane crash. I think it's the lottery guy who we see burning to death in his car and like screaming. And yeah, because I think it was him. And AJ Cook is like in the car looking at him when her car's like talk. That was sad. That was horrific. Like, anything with somebody burning to death, like, that really gets me, because I don't do fire and like heat and hot. I hate that. Lottery guy has just a great death scene in just the premonition of the highway and the scene where he is actually, killed for real, not the premonition. It's the same like orchestration of the build up, like with the bathroom and the teacher in the first one, where we're walking through the apartment and we're watching like his moves. We're watching Death trying to, put its little sneaky link together, trying to figure out, wait, what's going to kill him? How's he going to die? But it has always irked me that Buddy won the lottery, bought a brand new watch, but then came home and like heated up old nasty leftovers and food out the freezer. Baby, you couldn't buy something to eat. Like, you couldn't stop and buy dinner on the way home. This whole death might have could have been avoided if you weren't in the heating up old ass food when you just won a damn lottery. Ultimately, a fire starts and his hand is stuck in the garbage disposal, but he escapes the apartment and seemingly he's free and has cheated Death. But when he slips and falls on the ground after getting off the fire escape, breathes his sigh of relief, which that always irked me. Like, don't breathe sighs of relief until you're up and safe. But he ultimately gets impaled in the eye with the fire escape ladder. I love this death scene. For me, it's the build up. It's the orchestration of everything. I also just always love somebody getting impaled in the head or the eye. The kid gets smashed with a panel of glass. I actually preferred what they were setting up in the dentist's office. I really wish he would have died in the dentist's office when that thing like falls into his mouth and like cuts off his breathing. I love just how all of that was kind of being orchestrated, but his death irks me with the glass falling because he was like, had to be about 16, not 12. Why is he running through like a bunch of pigeons? Like, it just felt really childish. It felt like something like a 7-year-old might do. It just always annoyed me. But the mom having to watch her kid get killed is crazy. And speaking of the mom, Nora getting killed in the elevator. Top 5 deaths in the franchise. When she gets the call to watch out for the man with the hooks and she panics, that phone call pissed me off. This is what I be talking about with Kimberly. I thought the news was delivered, or not news, but like the warning was delivered in a really idiotic way. Like, you're literally panicking this lady. And she does, in fact, panic, which sets off her death. Now, I'm not sure how realistic it is for the elevator doors to like get your head, and because that it's like a motion sensor. Like, if you go in there, the doors are supposed to like jump back open. I don't know how realistic it is, but elevator doors chopping niggas' heads off always freaking me out. Whether it's the one in Resident Evil, the one here, I don't like it. The doors be freaking me out. It kind of remind me of like thinking you're gonna get killed and sucked into the escalator. But another reason I love this scene is also, again, not just the death itself, but the orchestration of it and the entire scene. It's the desperation and helplessness of the situation with TC and, Kyle and the stranger, the older guy trying to help her. And the way, if you look at them in the scene, the way him and the older guy facial expression, they putting on the good acting. I just felt like it was just so good. Then the businesswoman that was always smoking the damn cigarette, and Claire trying to help on the outside as well. Just also her death scene mixed with the accumulation of the aftermath of Kyle storming into the apartment and the gun jamming like 5 times. It made it real for the non-believers. Like, yeah, something sinister is stalking y'all. Then we have the businesswoman impaled by the pipe when the firefighters, first responders are trying to get her out of the car. Good as hell. Felt realistic. The way she's like, can you keep it down, please? Oh, yeah, sure. I'll put it on quiet mode. Boom, pound. I thought this felt realistic, felt grounded, felt scary. Like, that's, like I said, that's the magic of these movies for me, is when a death literally feels like, oh shoot, that could happen to me. Because I literally have it in the back of my mind ever since this, that if I'm ever in an accident, make sure I tell them first responder folks to disable the airbag, okay? Stoner guy, cut in half with the barbed wire fence makes absolutely no sense to me. I think it's idiotic. I think it's unrealistic, not grounded. I don't care how fast this high-flying fence is with the barbed wire. I just don't see it being able to literally chop your body. Claire and Kyle getting blown up when she opens the door at the hospital because of the oxygen machine. This scene pisses me off. This scene pissed me off to no end, but it is because I absolutely love these two characters, and I was just upset they didn't make it. Why we went to a barbecue at strangers' houses just because we were wrecked out, on their property. I never understood that, child. Like that ending where we at that barbecue. That just I don't know why. I don't know why we at a stranger's house for a barbecue, but whatever. But the kid getting blown up, I thought that was good. When he goes to check the barbecue and there's this explosion that happens just as they're explaining how their friend saved him from the news van. And I also love it because I feel like it just adds to the lore of Death's design, which, you know, the franchise gives us about intervening and stuff like that. Also, on this recent rewatch, I realized this kid that get blown up played Bucky on SVU. Just random. Final Destination 2 for me is a solid 4 out of 5 star movie. And I personally wish only the first 2 movies existed in this franchise. I'm sorry. They are the only 2 I've rewatched constant. Like I said at the top of this video. After Final Destination 2, there were no real stakes for me. None of the deaths affected me because I just didn't give a shit about the characters. Like, I love just a brainless, fun, popcorn fun horror movie and just watching people die. But that's not what I really love. I like to feel invested. I just feel like it adds to it. I don't want to just see characters dying, Like, I don't know. I want some type of feel to the movie. I want some real stakes. I didn't root for nobody. I didn't care about nobody. Everybody could have died. Literally. Just kill everybody. Well, everybody do die. But you know what I'm saying. None of the characters feel like real people after Final Destination 2. It got very cartoonish and outlandish just the more the franchise went on. Final Destination 3. A group of teenagers escape a fatal roller coaster crash and again are stalked and killed one by one by death. More of the same. Doesn't feel fresh in any way. At this point in the franchise, I feel like we need more creativity with the narrative. We don't and with the lore. We don't explore anything the audience doesn't already know. We don't tread any new territory with the concept. And for me, it causes the franchise to start to feel extremely stagnant here with the 3rd installment. Also, this one feels very dumbed down in comparison to the first 2, where there was genuine suspense, unease, and characters who felt like real people with some exaggerations, particularly Final Destination 2, because that's Stoner guy, whatever. But Final Destination 3, everything feels so freaking silly, and this was the decline of character and just slowly leaning into the big accident, the central accident, and the death scenes. Like, for me, this is when it just became all about that, which for me, nothing to write home about in this one, honestly. None of the deaths here really sparked any real fear. The deaths don't feel very grounded like the first 2. And also, the guy helping the lead throughout the movie, helping Mary Elizabeth Winstead, baby, you got a mouthful of a name. Literally, when we meet him, he's taking a picture of a girl's skirt. He literally sexually violates the girl. We have the womanizer character. And he says something like treating women like fun bags. Who says fun bags? Like, literally, where are the people in the world that exist? Like, I've never heard anybody say that in my life, and I'm 40. Like, I've never heard anybody say fun bags. Like, what? The dialogue is terrible, atrociously terrible. None of these characters feel like real people. The little sister got on my last goddamn nerves, but her and her big sister was both obnoxious and annoying. But that singles towards the ending where they're at the bicentennial, I don't know, whatever the hell, and she keeps like doing her sigh and running away every time she see old boy or her sister. It just was irking my nerves so bad. I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, what's that lady name? But she is so unlikable here, and I mean like cringe worthy. And I absolutely love a female character who isn't made to just be nice and likable. I love a female character that's like the, jerk character, but it's so cringe for me here. I literally just didn't care if she lived or died. And I feel like in a movie like this, with a setup like this, I want to care about the stakes. In the first Final Destination, you know, like I'm rooting for them to find a way to defeat death. In second Final Destination, I'm rooting for them to find a way to defeat death. Final Destination 3, I said, man, kill all them bitches off. Kill everybody. Kill them all. But she was literally, this is like the worst character she's ever played for me. Like I literally hate this character. I was waiting for her to tell old boy that his girlfriend was planning to break up with him, because like based on her actions, like that's how just like irksome and cold-hearted she just seemed. She lacked any personality. It just, like I said when I was talking about FD2, JJ from Criminal Minds and FD2 lackluster central character, but everything mixed together made it all great. It wasn't like a huge sore. It didn't stick out like a sore thumb. It's different with this one because all the pieces are lackluster, including the central visionist. I'm just like, I hate it all. I hate her so much in this movie. I really do. The way she moved through the story, I just was like, get her the hell out of here. The kills of Final Destination 3, the central accident and kills, the roller coaster, for me was meh. Now, roller coaster could be a real fear, like the highway pile up, like the plane, but the actual accident we get here was very meh. With the airplane, with the highway, you really spend time. And with the roller coaster, the deaths were super quick. They were like blink and you'll miss it deaths. I feel like and not memorable. All I remember, and I literally just rewatched this movie, I just remember niggas falling off the roller coaster. Not memorable. And also, I felt like the highway, it felt very visceral. This was just very lackluster for me. I actually thought the train sequence at the end of the movie was way more effective than the roller coaster. The two blondes, tanning bed death, maybe because I ain't never climbed my black ass into a tanning bed, this did nothing for me. It also didn't do anything for me because it was very deja vu. The same way I felt about how I had just seen the guy walk backwards into the street and get hit by a bus in Felicity, and I hated old girl walking backwards into the street and get hit by a bus in Final Destination. We already saw Jennifer Love Hewitt she didn't die, but she got trapped inside the tanning bed in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I just was not here for the tanning bed death. Nothing about it worked for me. The build up for the scene as they're going through and the guys out there jabbing on the phone. The characters, like I said, could care less about. Now, these aren't like obnoxious, annoying characters. I'm just like, whatever. They're just mad characters. It just did nothing for me. Now, it was sad. Like I said, anything with somebody burning to death is going to be kind of sad for me. I thought that was sad when we really get the visual of old girl in there, and I think it's the point where like the glass breaks and she kind of falls and she's like burning. That was sad, but for me the death is nothing to write home about. Like being trapped in a tanning bed, you're burning to death, yes, that's absolutely horrible, but I just didn't really care about this scene. The womanizer idiot who said fun bags, death in the drive-through, I think like the back of his head. What chopped the back of his head? I can't remember. Something chops the back of his head. I hated this scene. I hated this death. I thought the whole scene felt really dumb. The truck backing up, having them stuck in the driveway, just didn't make much sense to me. But the back of the guy's head gets sliced, and it's just a mad death. It's just like a whatever kind of death. The token black character who plays the token jock character getting his head smashed in the exercise room. I freaking love this death scene. I love this death scene because for me, it's the entire scene. It's the fucking hyper testosterone hellscape that that Mary Beth Winstead is in, and how she's like looking around, and they're like, oh, the way that it's just so over the top. Like I love how they did this scene. Like it's a fun scene because I'm just like, damn testosterone, it's gonna get you every time. The alt girl getting killed with the nail gun was cool. That's definitely a top death in the franchise to me. Then we have the deaths at the bicentennial. What's that thing called? A bicentennial, whatever the hell. Lackluster. not memorable. The flagpole, I think it was flagpole death or something. The firecracker that killed the alt guy, all pretty lackluster and forgettable. And the alt guy death just doesn't make much sense to me as far as the rules of the franchise go. The rules of death, it just didn't make any sense to me. Then we get into the final scene with the train crash. Fucking iconic. I really wish the central crash was the train and not the roller coaster. The build up to the train crash, miles above the lead in for the roller coaster crash, because there's no real suspense built for the roller coaster. There's no build up. It's just the events leading into the roller coaster crash. But when she gets on the train and it's the unease and she's looking around and something feels off, and I feel like they did that so much better than the roller coaster. The kills during the train are better than the kills on a roller coaster. I feel like we actually see people get killed on the when the train happens. With that roller coaster, like I said, I just remember people falling off, child. Old boy Death, who was the one who violated the girl at the top of the movie, I thought his was brutal for the train scene. But Final Destination 3 for me is a solid 2.5 out of 5 star movie. I can genuinely see how people would enjoy this. It's like a brainless, entertaining way to kill time, but it just really doesn't work for me. I will likely never watch it again for the rest of my life. Final Destination 4, the final destination. A young man saves himself, his friends, and a few strangers after he has a premonition of a terrible racetrack accident, but terrible fates await them. This movie is literally unwatchable. It is literally unbearable. I didn't even finish this movie. I didn't finish it. I could not do it. It was unbearable. They literally, the movie feels like they just literally didn't give a shit. They just say, hey, let's go with a 3D gimmick and we don't have to do nothing else. One of my biggest, I mean, this whole movie is a shit show, but one of my biggest gripes is the racist character, the racist storyline. Troy from Waiting to Exhale being called the N-word and just responding by saying, sir, because he's the good Negro and he won't meet racism with anger. Adding the racism, first of all, they handled it very poorly with the story and whatever the hell they was. I don't even want to. It was just so weird. I don't even want to call it a story. But the way they handled the little racism stuff, handled very poorly. But also, it was just completely unnecessary. It was literally very, very unnecessary. And I loathe. They did it on The Walking Dead. It irks my nerves when a writer has no other idea of a way to add conflict involving a black character except racism. Like, it's just so tired. It's so annoying. I love my guy Troy from Waiting to Exhale, from Free Willy, from Heat, Bubba Gump, from Con Air. But, bro, why are you here? Why are you here, bro? But you know what? I get it, black man. Not a lot of work for you. I love you. So, I'm not going to hold this against you. All the characters here, again, do not feel like real people. But way worse than the third movie. Annoying, obnoxious, insufferable. The acting is atrocious. Literally every single solitary character was insufferable except for the security guard. This movie feels like the poster child of a studio just wanting a cash grab. Like, literally, they didn't even try. I really have nothing nice to say about this movie. I have nothing to say about this movie. If you're going to give me cheesy horror movie, give me intentional, good cheesy horror like Piranha. If you're going to give me comedic horror, give me good, intentional, comedic horror like Slither. Don't give me this mess. Don't give me this buffoonery. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. The entire movie is just incompetent. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. I got nothing for this movie. The kills of FD, 3D, the central accident of the racetrack. This is the only one that doesn't play on real life fear because, baby, who's going to the damn racetrack? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe look. I don't know. People going. But the scene as a whole just really did nothing for me. The deaths in this one all just flat out stupid, literally, and all the other adjectives for stupid. Literally not even worth talking about. Final Destination 4, the Final Destination 3D is a solid 0 out of 5-star movie. I loathe that I even had to sit through this and just sit through this filth in order to film this video. But I'll be damned because I did not sit through the whole thing. Nope, I couldn't do it. I felt myself getting dumber. Like, I felt my brain cells literally dying. Like, I could hear them. I could hear them crackling, withering away and dying. Final Destination 5. Death returns to claim the lucky survivors of a deadly bridge collapse. The biggest highlight of this movie for me is the fact that it is a prequel and we don't know that until the very end. As someone who goes up for horror prequels, I love that. But that is just about where my praise ends, though. But you know what? I like adding the conflict with the friend who girlfriend like dies in the gymnasium or whatever. I like the whole kill to get someone's life. I feel like at least it feels like they tried to do something different and expand things with the kill or be killed stuff. I love the bridge collapse idea, but most of the deaths are really nothing to write home about in this movie for me, whether it's the deaths on the bridge or the subsequent deaths that happen afterwards. A few of my faves, getting into the deaths of this one, the boss who like burns to death in a premonition on the bridge with, what the hell was that liquid? Magma? Tar? I don't know what that hot black liquid was. But again, anything that's going to burn people to death is going to feel very visceral to me. The gymnastic girl, that was the only kill in the movie that gave me that classic build up of, oh, how is death going to get her? What's watching it actually be orchestrated? Again, I hate every single motherfucker here. They literally, after Final Destination 2, just didn't even try when it came to the characters. But I will say, the two main leads in this one, the Visionist and his girlfriend, the absolute least charismatic, no personality having, no chemistry as a couple having as people I've ever seen in my life. The most lackluster, boring, uninspiring leads in the entire franchise. Give me the visionary guy out of 3D. Literally. Give me him instead. But like Final Destination 3, I can objectively see people getting some brainlicious entertainment and fun out of this one, even though I hate it. I can see that though. The effects are better here than Final Destination 3D. The kills are better, but being better than like a crap movie is no big feat. For me, Final Destination has a horrible batting average. The quality is all over the place from film to film, literally. Final Destination 5 is a solid 2 out of 5-star film for me. I think it's about time that we just really admit to ourselves that this is a horrible franchise. It ain't good. It's not good, sir. Final Destination 2, GOAT status, GOAT level. Amazing, original, and sequel. After that, throw the whole franchise away. I mean, for me personally, but let me know in the comments how you feel, how you rank the franchise. It's a no for me, dog. But now we are going to get into my top 5 deaths of the franchise. And my number 5 death would be Sean William Scott, decapitated by the debris by the train in Final Destination. Again, I just love the entire scene, not just the literal death of him being decapitated, but a good decapitation is always fun. Number 4 would be the lottery guy from Final Destination 2. Again, y'all, I could say it ad nauseum. I love just the whole scene and the orchestration and the build up of this scene and his death and how they wrote this. And getting impaled is always fun. Number 3, the mom, Nora from Final Destination 2. Her panicking, that trash ass warning that they give her when they call her phone. Her getting stuck and panicked, and again, the orchestration of the scene and the desperation and looking at the other characters in the scene and how they're reacting, and then the fallout after her death. Number 2 is going to be Alex BFF in the bathroom in Final Destination. And I think his name was Todd. Poor Todd. this scene, again, as someone who lives alone, it just really freaks me out. I'm just being in my bathroom like, where's everything? Is anything leaking? Really? But this was just such a good build. And I feel like we got that ominous, shadow of death that really was created in the original Final Destination that just dissipated as the franchise went on, child. But just that stalking shadow and figuring and entity and ominous of death trying to get us with Alex in that bathroom. But the number one death for me in the Final Destination franchise has to go to that trash ass teacher in Final Destination. Literally the best orchestration of a buildup of a death scene, watching everything accumulating, death putting everything together, and seeing her go through the house and the torture she goes through to finally just be impaled when Alex is trying to help her and she has that knife in her and she gets impaled. Number one death. But those are my thoughts on the Final Destination franchise. I will be here to watch, review, discuss Final Destination Bloodlines when it comes out. Just the fact that they put Bloodlines in the title, I literally just have no faith or hope. But I'm going to go into the movie blind. I haven't seen any type of trailers, teaser trailers. I haven't even seen a movie poster. I have no idea what the setup is, what's it about, anything. My plan is to go in blind, expect the worst, but hope for the best. Like, I truly, truly hope to be pleasantly surprised. I would love to get that feel back of the first two Final Destinations. I would really love for us to tread some new territory, do something different, bring something new to the lore. And do I think we're going to do that though? No, I don't. But I hope we do. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel. And please comment down below. It really helps the video. It helps the algorithm. Make sure you hit like on the video. Please make sure you are subscribed. And I will be getting into Lovecraft Country, a great horror series that never got its just due. Every Tuesday I will be doing a watch along with you guys of the episode, followed by Wednesday doing a live discussion with Tyra of Struggle Reviews TV and Ashley of My Sweet Perspective. Starting this week, tomorrow, I will be here every Tuesday for the watch along and every Wednesday for the subsequent discussion. We're going to have the watch along / reaction. And I'm super, super excited because I watched Lovecraft Country when it aired, but I've literally never seen it since. So I feel like it's going to literally feel like a first time watch because y'all know my brain is, I did too much acid when I was younger. I can't remember anything. But thank you so much. I will see you in the next one.
Goodbye.